Like all girls, we like going to the loo together, and Lauren and me are no different. This is taking shit seriously, and we are meeting up with inspiring people in their bathroom, talking about topics that are interesting, important, and gripping.
Brits drink tea all day and love the Queen. Germans all have gnomes in their garden and can be quite unfriendly. Are these cliches true or false? What do our European neighbours really think, and how much do we know about each other? This is what we're tackling today.
Germans love their bread, and Brits love their pub. These and many more cliches are put each other's ways. But is that really fair? Are those things true or just overstretched and outdated? How much are we really missing on our education about each other? Today, Lauren going into the ring for the UK and me fighting for Germany are battling. Each of us gets 3 cliches from the opponent. If we can believably convince the opposite country that that cliche isn't true, we win the round. The winner is the one with the most cliches proven wrong. Let's get started. Brits refuse to learn other languages. They are monolingual by choice.
Okay, so I'm not too sure about this one. From personal experience, I try and learn new language. I'm currently trying to learn new language, just for fun, really, not for any specific purpose. But I feel like a lot of people are taught it in schools. A lot of people go and educate themselves on another language. I feel like it's such a common thing to have people, although they don't use it on a daily basis or use it all the time. A lot of people in England will speak other languages like Spanish, or perhaps even languages like Urdu. I feel like it's such a common thing, but I feel like it's not really spoken about.
Why do you think that cliche has kind of started? Why do you think people get to the point saying, well, Brits only are interested in speaking their own language, they don't want to talk in other ones?
I feel like it's come from a place of basically how widely used English is, I think. Obviously in America, Australia, New Zealand, they've all got variations of English. They use the English language, and they're massive countries in comparison to ours. And a lot of people from other countries will also speak English. And I feel like it's just a kind of a common stereotype, really, that people from England only know English.
I think I've experienced both sides, where I've had people telling me, saying like, well, why should I learn another language? Because the entire world speaks English. But at the same time, I also know that a lot of people do in schools learn other languages. But I think I have to give you the point, because I feel that in a way it's a difficult one to prove as right, because it is the problem, the entire world speaks English. So even if someone from Great Britain has learned another language in school, will they necessarily have the chance to ever use it? Because it's a lot easier to go into another country speaking in English, because also the standard for most of the other languages, they might have learned another language for like a couple of years, but it's easier to speak English even in a foreign country, because a lot of those foreign countries teach their kids English from a very young age. So their English is automatically, or quite often, already in a higher standard than the foreign language someone in Britain might have learned in school. So I think you've actually proven that one to be a wrong one in my mind, just because you guys just don't have the chance to.
So, Germans are direct. They're not diplomatic at all, and they can come across as unfriendly and rude.
I think that has a lot to do with the sound of the German language itself, because we don't emphasize things really too much. Everything is quite one level, and so automatically when we speak in our language, or even with our accent, we automatically come over a lot harsher. So if we then go into, let's say, a discussion or even an argument, we kind of end up being seen as the more like the louder and more aggressive ones automatically. So I don't think we really had a chance, considering the sound of our language, to ever say, well, we're actually the nice ones. But I can see because, for example, compared to to other languages, I don't think we are the most. I wouldn't say we're not really not polite, but at the same time, I think we might be more direct than other ones are. But I wouldn't say that we're therefore unfriendly and rude. It's just a different habit that we have. But I don't think it drives us quite enough into one way that we can say, well, all Germans are rude and unfriendly, because they're too direct and not very diplomatic. Like, I think that's a person thing rather than if someone is unfriendly and rude and undiplomatic, rather than entire nation being that. I think it comes from our language sounding very different.
I mean, can I just say, from knowing you as a person, I don't think you come across as unfriendly or rude. And the German language itself, compared to English, I feel like English is normally stereotyped as this eloquent language and beautiful and kind of, and then with German, it does sound a lot harsher. So I completely get where you're coming from with that. So I definitely think you've won that point for Germany.
British people are passive aggressive. They don't say things straight into your face, but judge behind your back.
Now this is a bit of a weird one, because I'm not too sure where this has come from. I feel like it's derived somewhere from politics or something along those lines. People say one thing and do another. But I think a lot of British people can actually be really direct, and you have those people that will just say it how it is, straight to your face, the kind of cheeky chappy thing of, oh, right, you're right, how's this going? Right, this is what's going to happen, bish, bash, bosh. And I feel like that's also stereotypically British. But yeah, I'm not really sure where I stand on this one, purely because I don't know where it's come from. I don't know. I'd like to think I'm quite direct the majority of the time. I think there's all situations where you can say one thing and do another or go back on your word. But I don't necessarily think that's a British thing. I think that's a general thing. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong.
I can see it coming from the whole idea that Brits are very polite. So, for example, if someone in a restaurant says, "Oh, do you like that meal?" They, in most cases, they will always say, "Oh, yeah, it's lovely. It's absolutely delicious." And then might say to whoever they're sitting on the table with, thinking like, well, actually, this isn't great. Like, this is really dry. But I think that's what it comes from. And then it's more likely than, and I don't think that's every British person doing that, but I can see where it comes from, that then people might not have said to whoever they were dining at, look, I didn't like your food, can we do something about it? They're more likely to then say to their friends, oh, I wouldn't recommend that restaurant. And so therefore I can see that being something, because I have experienced in the past that people wouldn't get up and say, well, I don't like this food, so I'm not gonna ever come back. They will still be very polite, and I think it's a good thing when they leave the restaurant and say, okay, this was okay, but not go, like, they will then go on to their friends and say, like, don't go there. So I don't think I can give you that point, just because I know that from personal experience that people would, from wanting to be polite, rather say nothing and then afterwards tell their friends not to go to that restaurant, for example.
Germans are very private. They keep their private and their public lives very, very separate, and they find it hard to warm up to somebody who isn't in their circle.
Oh dear. I would like to say that cliche isn't right, because I think there are people who generally will find it very easily to get warm to people and um, being like, oh yeah, you're a really good friend of mine now. But I think that comes a lot from professionalism that has got a really, really high rank in Germany. It's interesting because, for example, over in the English language, you have the you, which basically just means you. In German, we have two variations of that, which is one formal and one is private. So that being said, we therefore have quite a differentiation of how we address someone at a workplace and how we address someone in a private bubble. So that already feeds in compared to the English language, and there might be other languages where it's similar. And so because of that whole professionalism in the language, it also comes and feeds into the habitat of being, okay, I might be working with this person for since the last 20 years, but I will still not call them by their first name. But at the same time, I don't think we would be finding it hard to adapt. I think it is just something that has been, if at all, part of our society. But I don't think it's because we do it because we feel comfortable about it. It's just that I think, if I would say it's true, it comes from that we want to be very professional, but I don't think it's that because we find it hard to warm up to people.
I'd say that if there's, especially in a professional environment, there's always that level of professionalism and that level of kind of friends. And I feel like if you keep those two things apart, is it a bad thing?
I wouldn't say so necessarily, but then again, I also wouldn't say that there's some cliches where you'd say, well, that's just not nice and that's just straight up rude. But a couple of cliches, I would almost say, well, it's not a bad cliche to have, really, if it's true.
If it's a level of professionalism, then there we go. It's always good to have your work distance.
Brits love to watch a lot of TV. If they could, they'd do it all day long.
See, I'm in that difficult position of, if I could, I really would watch TV all day long. But I think there's a kind of general thing stopping all of us, which is kind of we work and we socialise and go out. And I think earlier you made the point of, Brits like their pub and like to go out. And it raises the question, I think, as Brits, we're quite sociable and we enjoy the human interaction sort of side of it. And with the introduction of Netflix and other kind of on-demand sites where you do get to watch TV all the time, I don't know whether this is a general thing for everyone, but we seem to be taking in and watching more media. But I don't know. I think, it's the great British traditions of kind of you go out for a walk in the park on a Sunday and, you go to the playground. And you feed the ducks and stuff like that, and you go outside and explore and have fun. And also being a tourist in your own country, I think that's very popular, especially where we are in London. So I don't know. I feel like there's always that barrier stopping us from watching it all the time. And then even if we could, I think Brits like socialising a bit too much.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, especially considering that people now want to get rid of the whole TV license, because looking at BBC and everyone, people don't see the point of paying for it anymore because they just simply don't use it. The nice thing is, and I think that's also the downside of it all, is that right now there's so much of it. If it's Netflix, if it's TV on demand, BBC iPlayer, all sorts of things. For us, it's never been easier for us to access any media, especially TV and films and stuff. So I personally think people are quite sick of it, and especially in the climate right now. I mean, kind of we're forced to, or generally everyone, whether they're British, German, they're kind of forced to, but I don't think it's a choice thing. So I think if we could, we will, or basically every British person will try to get back to a pub as soon as possible as the lockdowns ended. So I can see them doing rather going to the pub, meeting with friends, as you said, or going out, than watching TV. So I think I've got to give you the point because I couldn't agree more. I can't see where that cliches come from.
Lederhosen and Dirndl, a traditional German dress, and everybody's got one at home.
Right, so I think this one is quite funny because this is not true at all. The Lederhosen and Dirndl, they are a Bavarian traditional dress. Bavaria is a small section in the south of Germany. Most people in Germany don't ever own a pair of those anyway because it's just a traditional thing. The only reason why someone in Germany would ever go down to Bavaria and get a pair of those is in order to go to the Oktoberfest. So the only reason why they would own it would be for that. But it's not a generally traditional German dress. It is of one part of Germany. So no, I don't think everyone owns it, and it's definitely wrong that it's traditional German dress. It's from part of Germany, one specific one, Bavaria, and they are very different to a lot of other regions in Germany. For example, for years for centuries, I think by now, they have been trying to become very independent. I think in a way you can almost try to compare them with Scottish people. They have a very different traditional dress to the rest of UK would have. A kilt, that's a very Scottish thing, but you wouldn't put that to someone in London. And the same with Lederhosen. You put that to someone in Munich, but not someone in Berlin.
So you definitely get the point for that. And it seems like that's just a kind of lazy, casual stereotype that's come from kind of just years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing. A lot of those cliches are just straight up stereotypes.
So our winner is Germany.
Yes. Thank you very much.
So, can you guys think of any more British or German stereotypes? And you can leave them in the comments down below and we'll reply whether we think they deserve a point.
So, what do you think? Do you agree? Which cliches made you chuckle? Leave your opinions in the comment section down below. This was Lauren.
And Maria. And don't forget to tune back in for our next episode.